This is Dating with Reptar, and I am Reptar.
This is your boy Jose. You know the vibes. Hey.
Okay, I'm Maya. That's it.
And if you don't follow me already on Instagram, I am a Reptar _Love Jones, R3PTAR _ LOVEJONEZ 2. And we are on YouTube. Search, which is Dating with Reptar. We are on Facebook at Dating with Reptar. Oh, and I'm also on the podcast for wrestling, FTW Podcast. Hey. Hey. Hey, y'all. Hey, how you doing?
What it is, y'all?
Hello.
I was waiting for someone to be like, where's there?
But don't get
Let's get it. Let's go.
Talking about sassy men versus masculine women. Is that a red flag or green flag?
Suck my dick.
Red flag.
Green
Whoa,
flag.
Hold on.
I had a whole conversation with someone that's in this chat about this the other day. But I want to hear about
Hold
it.
on. Hold on.
Oh, the men
is-
got sassy.
What is-
Sassy is
Make sure I give the
crazy
flag
word.
colors.
What is the definition? Hold on. Before we get into that, what is the definition of sassy men?
Ladies,
You
what is the
know.
definition in your eyes of a
You
sassy
talk about it. Tell
man?
me.
Hidden purse.
You asked it.
What does sassy mean?
Nah, see, everybody want to know what's sassy. What is it?
What does it mean?
What is the definition in your eyes, ladies? What is the definition of a sassy man?
If I'm keeping it completely 100, I had never heard that term until talking to
Maya,
Jose.
stop the cap right now.
No, I'm so serious. I've never heard that term until talking to Jose.
Apparently, there's a sassy man apocalypse.
I've heard men referred to as like being feminine or being like what, but I've never heard the term sassy man ever until talking to Jose.
It's a
Yep.
pandemic.
I also think that because I'm primarily in the queer community, that it's not spoken about that way.
So what
Did
term
you
they
watch,
use
like,
in the community?
Did you
It
watch
is spoken
Tank Girl?
about. You just not around.
Things tend to be spoken about on a spectrum, meaning like you're just more masculine or more feminine. So like a feminine man, it's not like like the term sassy. I've never heard that. But like if you're
You
gender
ain't
fluid,
allowed.
for example, if you're a feminine dude, that's like how you're spoken about. Like yeah, I'm feminine presenting. I'm a femtop or whatever the case is. Like there are names for that. So I've never heard the term sassy
What?
man because that sounds to me like it's very
Now,
specific to
What?
hetero relationships.
You got to keep in mind these guys are not familiar with the BDSM terminology.
BDSM is crazy.
BDSM.
Sean,
BDSM
sign the
No.
fuck
I
off.
see
I don't
Sign
think
the
that's
alphabet.
First of all, she said femtop. Wait, can I say she
Whoa.
or they?
Seen that there are
Which
other
term?
words for those like
Maya still is
crosshairs.
she, her. Maya
Huh?
still
I-
she.
I just
Maya.
assume that
That's
that's a term used
pronouns.
more
That's
for
different.
straight men.
Oh, yeah,
The
nah,
men that
see.
I'm talking about usually aren't straight. So like, I don't know if sassy man refers specifically to straight men. I don't know. I have no idea, to be honest.
I mean, you can
Yes.
be gay and sassy. You could be a sassy gay man, but then
Oh,
being a
wow,
sassy
okay.
gay man is the same as being a sassy straight man. And it's just like
No,
it's
that's
no,
what
it's
I'm
not
saying.
the same.
What is
from Mean
sassy?
Girls.
It's
and
not
gay?
the same.
See,
It's
you got
not
to
the
define the
same.
term
See,
sassy.
I'm like, what is
No,
It's not
sassy?
the same.
Gianni's
So-
right. It's not the same.
It's
In
not
that
the
context,
same.
I
It's
I will say
use
that.
like
Let's.
See, that's why I'm asking because I have no
Hold
idea
on,
what that means.
I'm protecting my heterosexual males in here because none of them are sassy.
Yeah.
But I use
Yeah.
the
I
word
didn't
in
say
the
they
last,
were.
the double
That's
the
what I
double standard one. I'm not saying anybody said anything. I'm just saying it for our
Okay.
fans at home. Look at the camera. Look at me. I'm right here. What Kevin Hart say?
Yeah.
I'm right here. That's not the people here. So the term sassy has now been used as a man showing feminine qualities in terms of like the perfect example of not paying for the first date. They feel that that's the most sassiest thing that you are trying to not do is pay for the first date as an example.
So are we using the term sassy and
So-
like it's synonymous to be like submissive?
But
No.
also,
No,
Okay.
it's basically no, it's not
That's
submission
like
because
unmanly.
it's still,
Like
it's like it's almost like you don't want to
Princess
provide
treatment.
anymore.
Okay.
You don't want to
Okay.
provide anymore because you're showing feminine qualities
Like
of
a
like, well, I've been
stay-at-home
providing for
man.
so long. Why can't she
Well-
do it? Hence us becoming independent, calling us masculine because now we're the men in the relationship or in the room.
Yes.
But
Like
also,
role switching.
Okay.
But it's like a role
Well-
switch,
Oh,
but
what's
not
wrong
as
with that?
in depth.
Listen,
No,
there are
but I'm
plenty of men
telling
that
you
want
what
to
it
get
is.
pegged. There are plenty of men that want to be bent over. They can be
Don't
the same
understand.
That's
not what that
Maya,
means.
Maya,
What's
baby
going on?
girl,
Yeah.
this is a
What the fuck?
Look at what
heterosexual
Fred did
male
right now. She just
space.
Yeah.
burned the mill.
But that's what I
In
mean.
the-
They're
in
hetero
the-
men
in
that
your
just want to
They
be.
want princess
right
treatment.
because they are down low. Those are the DLs. We're not talking
the
about.
No, not the DLs. I mean
Yeah,
straight
all over
men.
the place.
I
Major
mean
bug.
straight
context,
men.
Seriously, it's like a role switch, but not to an extreme sense.
Low key, that's my thing.
However,
I
it
grew up
can
in
get
that
extreme,
environment.
but it depends on the person's personality and what they've been through and the trauma that they present to the table.
Yeah.
But
I
also-
grew up in that
Princess
environment.
treatment.
Okay, how
My
about this?
mother is
That's
the
how
breadwinner
I
of my
interpret
family.
it. Y'all can tell me I'm wrong all you
Gianni,
want to. That's how I got it.
The many times I've seen it used as of like an insult is when like men get not defensive, but they like counter argue whether it's like a woman posting something and the man jumps in with his input, or something that like something that the woman feels the man shouldn't have no input in.
Crying
the
into
insult side,
a
like,
woman.
Yeah,
Crying.
yeah, they said that's sassy.
Crying.
That's sassy.
Full blown, showing your feelings, crying. Jonathan
sassy?
Majors saying this woman changed his life, it completed him, was sassy.
Damn, so niggas can't
But why?
So I'm giving you,
I mean,
but
you
I'm
could
saying,
cry.
but
I like
listen,
the
listen.
surprise.
But
Hold
wait.
on. What I'm saying is that full blown showing your feelings became the first determination of sassy.
That's
Part one.
fucked up.
Part
That's
two.
fucked up.
Part two
That is fucked up.
not
That's why
wanting
black
to
men don't do therapy.
and you're absolutely right. That's part three. But the part two is you guys not wanting to provide anymore because you feel like it's too much. What the term has been stretched to. It's been stretched. It's been dragged, literally.
From my understanding, those 3 points were the causes of the whole sassy, calling men sassy, whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there is no gender for emotions.
Thank you.
To be fair,
That part.
many black men, if not all black men, have never been taught how to share the emotions or express their emotions. Is that something that happens in childhood? That's something, even shit for me, that it was just like, you crying or whatever the case is. We come from all brown and black families where it's just like, stop crying, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. It's always been put in a sense of just like, you need to bottle it up because I don't have the time for it, right? We grew up with parents that didn't understand mental health, that didn't give us space because they didn't have it or whatever the case. And showing emotion was seen as taking up too much time and taking up too much space. I am very much an encourager of men being emotional. There is 8 billion people on this planet. We need each other.
Amen.
So the fact that people can't be able to be themselves for so long of generations of suppressing that, now it's coming out in these big expressions that people aren't used to. And that's why it's just like, oh, he being sassy. And it's just like, no, he's bottled this shit up for mad long. And now it's coming in an excessive manner that you haven't seen before. And you as a female, because you haven't seen that, don't know how to receive that and be able to manage that shit. Where one, and I forgot who it was. I think it was Dimitri Wiley. I follow him. Everybody needs a balance of both. You need to have your feminine and your masculine. Emotion shouldn't be a thing. But what did we see emotion in men for a good portion of time? Them being angry. Why? Because anger comes in a form after everything has been suppressed. You mad, you throwing shit. You sad, you throwing shit. You surprised,
You're
you throwing
addicted
shit.
to something.
Right. That becomes an addiction. That's where sex has been such a top tier because we have been taught that sex is a form of therapy, and that's not a thing. That you're out here seeking release in places that's not where it's supposed to be coming from. So I feel like that's such a big place of why this whole sassy man or feminine men shit coming out. And it's just like women, for the most part, always get upset when we're being called emotional. It's just like, I'm not being emotional. I'm being fucking human, right? If I'm upset and I've been having to bottle shit up and now I'm crying, I shouldn't be looked down upon or being told that I'm weak because I'm showing emotion. And that happens so much in our fucking communities that now if we see a guy do it, this is like, what's up? The thing that happened the most part when people really started saying it, this nigga gay. And it's just like, where does showing emotion now become oriented like, where's the regulation of showing emotion to your sexual orientation? Like, that shit doesn't fucking make sense. And that's the biggest conversation. Is just like, now we're starting to see certain things come out in different forms because mental health is a conversation that we're finally having. So
Look,
we're seeing so many different things being manifested that we're still not used to. People are finally starting to open up, and it's just like, why do you think that men are getting tired? Because the moment they feel some type of way, they're getting shut down. Oh, you being mad sensitive. It goes back to that childhood shit. And now that's trauma. And it's now like, now your nigga don't ever want to talk. And now you sitting here pissed. Like, what's on your mind? Nothing. You did that shit to yourself. And society does that. So I completely understand when men get to a point where it's just like, I don't want to provide. I've been having to be hard and having to do shit for everybody all my life. Good portion of people that I know grew up in single family household, usually with a mom. And we've seen it many times, and I've seen it where the son or the oldest child is that parent's partner, right? They become the man of the house at such a young age that now you're carrying all this weight from childhood age, right? So there's just so much trauma and so many levels and layers to this shit that it's just like, emotions are not a fucking... there's no gender to the shit. Literally, crying was your first language as a child, being born. Anything you communicated before you learn how to say words was coming out through tears and making noise. Like, crying is such a natural fucking thing. And then now it's being seen that it's just so fucking negative.
If I can add, trauma was our first experience because we get exposed to the light, we get exposed to the doctor hitting our butt. So it's like we have to endure pain like throughout our progression in life, you know what I'm saying? So we just have to like get a better understanding of like this existence. We put labels on certain things, it just gets crazy.
The trauma, the T word, big T and little T was brought up in here. Let's
Not the
talk
big and
about
little.
that. You mentioned
He yelling at us in
that we've
lowercase and
been
uppercase.
experiencing. It's true though. There's big trauma and there's little trauma. As a social worker, as somebody who's trauma informed, I actually have this conversation quite a bit. And trauma since we were born, actually, even before you're born, you're experiencing trauma. The trauma of childbirth only comes after the trauma of being developed inside of a womb of a traumatized person and whatever trauma they are currently experiencing while carrying you.
Epigenetics.
Right. And then again, their genetics, their historical trauma, shit that passed down from generation to generation. It literally changes your DNA. But that's
and being projected on as a child.
Right. And what we're experiencing now with a lot of the ways that men and women are being attacked in this idea of the relationship and dating game, as far as this whole idea of what's sassy and what's masculine, it's all fucked up. It's really been stretched. And you got a lot of young asses and dumb asses using words that they don't even know what the fuck they mean. Period. And it gets put out here on social media where everybody's just throwing their own twist on what it means. Now, we mentioned that men and women have both masculine and feminine on their spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
As far as that's one thing. And this isn't about sexual identity. This is about just a simple matter of fact. If you got a dick, it was almost a clit. If you got a clit, it was almost a dick. The reality is that you have all of this in you. Now, men being called sassy, to me, this generation has brought this new slang and this new terminology as just yet another way to try to guilt men and shame men into being whatever is the version of a man this generation of women thinks they want, right? So we're constantly guilted and shamed into fitting into a certain box. So the sassiness comes up. The first time I heard that shit was when it was spoken as far as men saying, we are the prize. The moment that men stood up and said, listen, as we got to at the end of the last conversation, was that the moment men started standing up and saying, listen, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of I watch Family Matters and motherfuckers taught me to pay for every date and throw my jacket over a puddle so the bitch could walk over it. Fuck out of here. But we're not doing all of that because what happens is you end up just getting walked over. You end up just looking like a fool. You pay for another date thinking you was going to get what you was thinking you was going to get out of it and you didn't, or because you too were dating for the wrong reasons. Everybody out here dating for the wrong reasons and trying to guilt people into doing something for them to take care of them because everybody's looking to be taken care of because everybody's hurting. The sassy and masculine shit, dude's not used to a woman that stands up for herself. And then they call that masculine. But that's not being masculine. There's a difference between being effeminate and being masculine. There's a difference between being feminine and being effeminate.
Okay.
Effeminate men are sassy as shit, yeah. But a man that knows his worth is not sassiness. A man that knows his worth and establishes his boundaries is really just a man.
I realize we all have different definitions of it. If I were to say, like, I don't like this guy, he's a little too sassy for me, what I personally have always considered it is like a guy who wants princess treatment. Being sassy is already its own definition. It's a term. Sassy, anyone can be sassy, but in the context of like, I don't like the sassy man, I consider it like a guy who just wants princess treatment, and that is totally separate from, because y'all were talking, like, I heard a lot of feminine, masculine. That's very different. Feminine and masculine, that's a spectrum, and anyone can fall anywhere on the spectrum. But sassy is a personality trait. To me, at least that's what I consider it. So like, I'm over here like, I don't like sassy man. It's a guy who's playing in my face wanting princess treatment. And I'm like, that's something that where I fall on that, I'm like, that's something I would want. But to reciprocate the energy, I would give you prince treatment, because that's just like where I am. Like, you have to be compatible with each other. So like, I don't like sassy men. Like, that's just my interpretation of it. As a person, it's a personality, not you're not sassy just because you have feelings. Like, guys have feelings. They express it in a different way. There's a lot of trauma in that whole arena. But just because you're a man who has healthy boundaries and can express himself, who wants to be treated a certain way, it doesn't make you sassy. If you're playing my face like, oh, you should take me on, that's a whole different thing.
Essentially, what's going on nowadays is that you have hurt people wanting to hurt people, no matter what.
Hurt people?
Yeah, hurt people, because whether you're dating for the wrong reasons or the wrong person, it's like everybody's out for themselves, and everybody's looking out for I, and nobody's saying we.
Basically, off of exactly what Aaron's saying, when a woman don't get her way or they feel some type of way, they attack the man and saying, "Oh, he's sassy because he ain't want to do that." Like, my thing is, technically, who's really being sassy if you complaining about it? Technically, because technically, if you're complaining about something a guy won't do because he's telling you his boundaries, he's sassy. Then you, as a person, don't know. You don't even know who you are. You sassy right now because you feeling some type of way because a guy told you his boundaries.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That means you've never had that type of person stand up for their morals or like they value.
Yep.
And that's why I'll say it when nobody want it. It's a kind of a tricky thing. You got these simps and men that let women do this. So when the woman finally meets a man that's on his shit and lets you know, I ain't fucking with that. Oh, well, my last guy, your last nigga was sassy. That nigga let you walk over there. That's why. He was just doing.
That's a simp.
Yeah, but he let that happen because he ain't want to lose you, or he knew how to shut you the fuck up by taking you shopping or buying stuff.
Or just giving you head.
One of the issues when it comes to generations and switching up the definition of word, because sassy really is just like an unnecessary attitude. Like, the original like aspect of being sassy is just like that unnecessary attitude when somebody talking to you. It's just like whatever. Like, everybody has that. Like, every like I don't.
When you was growing up, the neck rolling, you being sassy,
right? Like, you're being sassy. Like, that was the original understanding of being sassy. I think people have gotten so used to other people not having boundaries that the moment someone stands up for themselves, you immediately just like, nah, I can't do this. And it's just like, if you're that person complaining about somebody else having boundaries, that shows more about your character as a narcissist and being spoiled and being able to do whatever it is that you want with other people. And that shows that you had your own separate agenda versus that other person still having boundaries. Like, and that goes back to what I said earlier, when people want to sit here and talk about their exes, but can't talk about their own personal issues and what they contributed to the mess.
I hate when people misconstrue the word simp with a dude like who's actually treating his girl right.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Okay, wait, what's a simp?
In layman's terms, I say a simp is basically a dude. I feel like a woman could be a simp too, but like it's more seen in dudes. Yeah. Like I feel like it's when a dude is doing the most and he's not getting anything reciprocated back in return.
That's right.
So you out here like trying to pay for dates, you out here trying to be the doormat, you trying to do the chivalry shit, trying to put the jacket down, trying to do all this shit. Nothing's getting reciprocated back. You in the friend zone, you get a pat on the back or some shit like that. That's the simp to me. Like you really putting all this effort in and you're not getting none of that shit back. Versus a man who's actually got his girl, taking care of his girl, making sure everything is good with his girl. That's not a simp. That's a nigga in a relationship. That's a nigga in a committed fucking relationship. That nigga's taking care of his business. Biggest thing. That right there is not a simp. So when they calling this nigga Russell Wilson a simp and shit, I was like,
that pisses me off. To the
Touche.
That is a godsend. That's what that is. Her relationship is Jesus. Won't he do it?
Right. And I think that's such a big thing that it's just like, if that's the definition, then that again now speaks to you internally, because where is your self-worth that you feel like you have to keep going above and beyond for somebody who's not showing up for you, who's not reciprocating for you? What is the trauma that you've dealt with that you are going after somebody who's not even looking your way?
Now it stems from you not having your self-worth, you not having the confidence.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like that goes back to like the internal, like the same way we were talking about sass. Like sass and simp, like whoever is putting that on is going to show more about their internal than it really is about the other person.
So is that like its own red flag? Not having enough self-confidence or not knowing your own
absolutely,
self-worth?
Absolutely. Because it does. It nothing pisses me off more than someone who can't speak highly of themselves or who can't even receive a compliment. I've met so many guys who are just, you give them a compliment, it's like nah, and then it's not that serious, and it's just like, nigga, just take the compliment. Let somebody like pour into you. Like it feels kind of disrespectful, and that's right. And it's one thing to say I'm not used to it and I appreciate it versus just like nah, fuck out of here, don't tell me that. Like that's such a turn off, because I should, especially if we're in a relationship, if I can't express how I feel about you, and I also have to now give myself in order for you to feel comfortable, it's just kind of like, why am I here? But also, if you're not comfortable in yourself, no matter what I do or what I bring you, it's never going to be enough.
There's nothing you can do.
Again, not my responsibility to keep filling up your cup and you keep pouring out what I'm trying to fill. You wanna be an empty cup. I don't want a project, and I'm not your therapist.
If they do not have any friends at all, is that considered a green flag?
That's a red flag. Red flag.
I'm supposed to say resounding red flag, right?
If they don't have any friends at all,
that's a big dog.
They're a psychopath, a sociopath.
That's a big dog.
They're the ones that go into the school and you have to duck for.
That's Jeffrey Dunham. That's Jeffrey Dunham.
Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer. That's Jeffrey Dahmer. You killed and ate everybody. I'm very much a black and white person, but I've learned how to read the gray area. I need to understand the concept of you not having friends. Are you not super social? And like, because people say because they not outside, they don't have friends, or you legit don't interact with people. Like, I need to know the levels of your introvertness, because I feel like that's a part there. Like, is it like this person don't got friends and you don't socialize or you don't do none of that? Or like your social battery is cut short and you just don't be outside?
No.
So what if there's like, a hierarchy? No. You got close friends, but you don't really go out like that. You have people you talk to on a regular basis, but like you don't have
either. No, no.
He said
no, but that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
I understand what you're saying. Even people that are that far in has someone.
So that's
And
what I'm saying.
And so in this, we can't drag the question because he said it as in it's very vague. It's very like,
okay,
this is what it is. This is what's going on. And
okay, so if it's no friends and there's no like interaction or human beings, that's a red flag for me.
Exactly. You said it right the first time.
It's a red flag for me. If you ain't got nobody, I think that there's.
What if you don't have friends, but you got family, like a close sibling, or like
just niggas you know? Hold on. Wait.
But also, if your family is the only people that you interact with, I feel like that's something like it keeps you in a box. You're not getting perspectives in life. You're not growing, because respectfully, inside your family, 9 times out of 10, you're keeping certain traditions and certain mindsets, and you're not allowing yourself to grow. That does nothing but drive me nuts, because I can't be around people who I can't have a conversation with. And if all you know is the room that you've been in and that's it, and the 5 people that you're related to, then I'm the type of person, like, I'm social, but I've gotten to the point that it's just like, I know my social battery is cutting out after a certain time. I leave early from an event. You know what I'm saying? But I need somebody that can come with me to an event. That was something that, you need to be able to have a life outside of our relationship. And at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for me if you can date and not have friends, because in order for us to date, we need to be friends.
Gotta build
so if you don't know how to build that, if you don't know how to build that, then this is probably not going to work anyway.
And part 2 is, please understand, your family does not have to be your friend, because family is who you came out the canal with. Okay.
Right.
They are just some niggas you know. They do not have to be people that you gotta associate with unless you still created that bond with them. Outside of that, out of all 22 of us being cousins, I can point out who I got friends with. Okay. Do not have to be friends with everybody. We do not have to do that. That is supposed to be related to you by blood. The same blood come out your veins don't mean it's the same thing that's supposed to be coming as your friend. I'm sorry. I am not a fan of people saying, like, I'm not saying to you, but like in terms of like people saying, that's my family, whatever. Understand, you're gonna rock with your family if somebody fuck with them. That's different, because nobody else can talk about your family. But at the end of the day, they do not have to be your friend.
Nah, if you talk about my family, it is valid.
Period.
It's valid.
If somebody fuck with your family, you are going to war. Your AK-47 is in your hand. At the end of the day, they do not have to be your friend. If you still have to develop that foundation outside of just saying this is my family.
I'm also not fighting for everybody in my family.
I mean, see, now yours goes further than the rabbit hole I just went in. But you understand what I'm saying?
Respectfully, like if you ain't ever show up for me, I'm not going to jail for people that don't rock with me.
You still have the brain to say, look, we are still family at the end of the day. Don't mean I have to be around you.
But you deserve your ass.
Like, understand, you talk shit to me. I don't care who you are.
Very much that, Jarrell. If you looked for the ass whooping, that is just between you and the Lord at this point.
Yeah, you might have had that coming. You might have
had your point. I'm not going to sit here and block your blessing.
To your point,
right? Coming one way or another.
Right, I'm not blocking the blessing. If that came from God, I'm not getting in the middle of that. If God said he has to high five you in the face in the name of Jesus, I'm not getting in between that.
That was for you.
It's a conversation between you and him.
Your friends are people that been with you, been around you, know who you are, and can have your back when your back is not with them.
Right. That
so
part.
Understand, your family can be a part of it if you built that foundation. It does not have to be mandatory because y'all have the same blood and came out the same canal of the other family. Let's make sure we all got that clear. So if y'all have a family like that and y'all roll like that, like Jose and his cousins, I love it. I wish I had cousins like that. Because they rock together like it's rice and peas, okay? But understand, everybody don't have the luxury.
No, that's a fact. And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb.
I think it can be a yellow flag in the sense of it all, as was mentioned, it can all depend.
Traffic jam.
I think there's a lot of other factors that go into it, but I find as a heterosexual man, my experiences prior to now with my current wife is that women often had a harder time having other real friends. Women I've met have often had maybe a few acquaintances, but not really close friends. And the difficulty lied in the dynamics of women amongst women versus the way men amongst men are. Women amongst women, I find you could sit them in a room and they'll talk about a lot of surface shit, but never really get close because they're kind of judging each other very strongly. Whereas you put dudes in the room, we're gonna bond, we're gonna connect off of something. You're gonna end up being friends, probably playing video games. Like I see Jarrell rocking some video games right now. I'd pick up the sticks and I'd play alongside, and now we're bonding like that. But women again gotta go and do all the things and gotta fit in the right pieces and all of that, it seems. And I've just heard this, that they end up not having real friends but being around a whole shit ton of other girls. I think that it can be a yellow flag in the sense that it potentially shows that you're selective about the company you keep, right? Because a lot of the women that didn't really have a lot of friends, particularly of the female variety, didn't have those friends because they didn't find women who matched their level of what they considered to be their quality. So it can be a good thing that you're not just associating and hanging around any and everybody. But like I said in the chat, it can show that you have some difficulty, whether it's about starting or maintaining and thus managing relationships that aren't sexual. A lot of people don't have friends. Fucked everybody that could have been their friend. Now they don't have somebody in their corner who they haven't fucked. That's why I personally have a lot of female friends. I did the work as a young man to say I had to overcome a lot of the shit that was born into me from growing up in the household I grew up in, of a single mother household, 2 older sisters, 3 black women who had a lot of gripes against black men, and I represented that as the youngest son. So as we talk about like those big T and little t traumas, you start to see why some people don't have friends. And if you can look at them now, you meet that person who's like, oh, I don't have friends. Start to look at their behaviors. Start to look at their personality. What are some reasons why you might find that you probably don't even want to be their friend? Because they don't know how to be a friend since they don't have any. Just a thought.
That's very important, of understanding where the fault lies, of are you the problem, right? Hello. Are you the problem and you can't hold on to relationships? But also, yes, do you have to be picky? Absolutely. And I think that there is a time and place in your life where you can no longer blame the issue on other people. I grew up, like we spoke about it earlier, I grew up around a whole bunch of boys, and girls were very catty. It went from me being around all those women to I had to remove myself. I had to look internally, like Sean said, see what's going on here, of how am I carrying myself, and how am I portraying myself as a person that people may not want to show up here. But also, if I'm not finding this here, whether it's family, friends, or whatever, or school, that I learn how to put myself in environments where there's people who vibrate higher that match my energy. So it's definitely very much like, yes, you have to be picky, but don't close yourself off. Oh, bitches, it's catty, so I'm not rocking with girls. It's like, no, there are other girls who have a better mindset. You just probably grew up in an environment. So you have to take yourself out of that, right? The same thing where it's our families. Our families have a mindset that may not match where we're being, and we have to be the one to break that generational shit. We have to come out of that environment and put ourselves in different places where the people that we're around helps us grow, so we can now connect with better people.
Yeah, I agree. Like, having friends is essential because, when you are able to form friendships on your own accord, then you realize like core values that is similar to your family. Because keep in mind, everyone got the same 24 hours, right? And growing up, when you have the opportunity to go to a public school, you know, like if your parents are busy, you're spending most of your time at school, you know, you're discovering who you are as a person, right? So if you're antisocial, it'll stem like early where it's like, okay, maybe you don't do extracurricular activities because you want to go straight home, or maybe you skip out on days from school and stuff like that. You know, you those personality traits are formed early. You know what I'm saying? Like when your friend invites you to their home and you meet their family, then it's like, okay, you know, these are like an extension of your family. I have nothing in common with my family, and they're the one that brought me up. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't hang out with my mom or my dad, maybe on a special occasion, but on a regular occasion, I feel like my mom's antisocial, but that's just my opinion. You know, I mean, she does carry a conversation, but it you know what I'm saying? It's weird. It's weird. You know?
Yeah, that's very much true. Like you said, yeah, just because you come from this family doesn't mean that you have to stay in this environment. I'm very much the black sheep. I'm the blonde black sheep.
Blonde black
You
sheep.
see?
And mine is orange.
I mean, same.
I'm orange black.
But the black is coming in. The black is coming back. But I'm not that person. I grew up very much different. Like my mentality was I was gonna work as much as I can, and everybody wanted to party. I didn't understand that mentality, and I got called boring for this shit. And now everybody want to talk about their finances. I've been working my ass off since I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, exactly. Those are the people that want to hit you up.
Borrow family.
And when I tell you the amount of times that I was like, people try to shoot me down because I was always focused about work, and now that's the time that y'all want to be on. I didn't understand y'all clubbing every day of the week. Why you sitting here complaining, being broke, and not having the life that you want, but you got $300 to spend every weekend on bottles that you could be spending a third of that.
We talking 12, 13, 14.
I mean, back like 10 years ago. I'm not talking about today's prices, but that it was also like,
not today's price.
Exactly. But then just like, this was really a conversation with me and my cousin. She's like, oh, Mel, you mad boring. You don't go out, this, that, and the third. You don't drink. And it's just like, you're boring that you need substances to have fun. I have fun all by myself with my natural ass energy. I'm sorry that's not how God made you. That's between you and him. But it's just like, it is what it is. And that was a conversation with me and many of my friends. My cousin had to call my job to get me out of work to get me to a party. I started college a week after high school graduation. I didn't have time to wait because my whole thing is the way I want to party is traveling. The way I'm traveling is getting money. I don't care about clubbing on the block every weekend when I could be partying on a yacht when I got my money.
Clear. If you don't follow me already on Instagram, I am on Reptar_LoveJones2, R3PTAR_LOVEJONEZ2, and we are on YouTube, which is Dating with Reptar, and we're on Facebook at Dating with Reptar.
Rugrat gang.